So I was out with my 6'4" pillion for 6 days in the bike. So two things weren't going to fly. Top box was too close, and I've mentioned that before in other videos. What I should have had is some Vario foot pegs for him, because he's 6'4". Now I find the seat to peg ratio shorter on the pillion than it is on the rider by a fair bit, and that's as short as I'd like it, and I've only got a 29-inch leg. So my pillion, who's 6'4", struggled a bit with those. I did add some Vario foot pegs, which were supposedly in a 2-day shipment. They took about 2.5 weeks, so they missed the trip. But I'll fit those now, see what they look like. This part here is specific to your motorbike, and whether it be the pillion or the rider's end. And this part is the extender. So in this case, I've got a 30mm one, and then this is the foot peg. So you can order all three bits separately, so you can get different lengths of these and different types of pegs. I probably should have got a pillion peg a little bit more like that. They do one now. Now the Triumph peg stays where you put it, obviously. But what it is it's using this rubber and some sort of mechanism inside here. So when you move this, this is pushing in and out, holding this. We don't have that. Here. So what they do is provide you some washers in this orientation to act as a spring. Right, I find the adapter here could be shaved off a bit more here, really. It doesn't quite go flush like the original. So that's pointing slightly backwards. So that's a bit disappointing, the machining of that. So I'll have a look from the top. See, it's kind of pointing backwards a bit. I don't think that's desperate. I don't think that's too desperate, but obviously when it's in storage, when you have it stored, that's kind of probably sticking out too much. So I would loosen this back off and move it vertical for a storage position. If you're loosening this off to move the peg, always do it in this position, because when it's stowed, there's more pressure against this spring. So it's just harder to undo this. So I'm just going to loosen it and move it back, so when I'm not using it, it'll sit back better up here. So that's better when not in use. But obviously that's a bit far back, it kind of defeats the purpose a little bit. So you need to loosen it off again and move the foot peg forward. So I'll tighten that up. So you kind of could leave that, once you've decided where you want this, you could put a bit of a thread lock on there, but you can't put it on this. So always have that handy. All in all, I think it's good. It's not the cleanest solution, and I wish that went a little bit further flush in there. But I think if you're spending a week on the back of this and that relieves some pressure on your pillion's hips and legs, I think it's a great idea. So you need to keep the clip from the existing peg, and you reuse the pin as well. As I say, this is sprung against this rubber here, so it just takes a little pulling out, that's all. Gotcha. So there we are, I'm just replacing that. I'll put the clip back on there. And you see that's loose. It's these spring washers that hold it once I have the peg in place. Right, so the washers go in that orientation. it doesn't matter where you put this for now, you're just trying to pull this in to locate it. Because this base piece here, this inner piece here, just there, that locates in the nut inside. I can move the peg anywhere around I want here. It's actually this bit should stay still. We should be moving it on this, but just to show you it. And then with the Allen key here, lock this peg in place. So if I go for there, match the other side, I just nip this up. Against these springs. And then nip the foot peg into position. That wants to be quite tight really. Lovely. So there's my new foot peg. In this instance a bit forward, but obviously anywhere. Those springs keep it solid either way. But as I say, when it's stowed, that's kind of sticking out a bit too much I think. So I'd be tempted to loosen that off when you're not using a pillion. And stow it like that. Now if you're not getting enough turns on this, be careful, because what you've done is you've not got this piece sitting far enough back onto the base piece, because it is the shape of a nut the other side of it. So if you're not getting many turns, don't force it. You'll see it when you go to do it yourself. The reason I say that is this base piece is fixed on there, okay? So you want to be careful it's not out here. So it pushes in on those springs up to here when you screw that screw in. That's it, I can feel it's gone in there now. So, whoops, so my storage position, yeah, I might use it like that, maybe turn that. But for stowage, you want to move them really. It's too far out. Unless you've got panniers here, and then you wouldn't really care. See, that's it. Burial foot pegs. So if you had panniers on, you're not going to see those. They look like they're sticking out a bit there, but you're not going to see those with panniers on anyway, if you're touring. Those marks were from the original pegs. So yeah, when not taking a pillion, I'll loosen those off and put them straight. They'll just look a bit cleaner. So what else did I do for comfort? Well, I moved this top box back. I mentioned in other videos, with the standard mounting, this is far too far forward. So the pillion's losing half the seat by the time they have their body armour on. So what I did is, I had a leftover rack from my Africa Twin. So I fitted that to the rear of my normal rack. I did have to drill a couple of extra holes. And I took the sliding part off of Triumph's mounting and just mounted the aluminium part on my rack here, and it just gave them loads of extra back room here. I got about 40 mil out of it, which made a big difference. I wish I'd got my pegs in time. this is what it looks like with the top box off. So you can see here, that was the original. That would have been sitting over the top of that, and kind of about in this here, so about 40mm further forward. So I reused some of the original holes in here. I did drill an extra couple to mount it to this rack here. Now this rack could have been anything that fitted. It could have been just a plain rack designed for the Tiger. I just drilled some extra holes in this just so I didn't have to buy another rack. But you could have bought any rack, any plain rack for that, and mounted your Triumph plate here. And as I say, these pins are normally up here, so I've got them about 40mm back. So I've lost my wobbly bit, but it doesn't make any difference, because when the pillion's on the bike, things are not moving anywhere. So that made a huge difference to pillion comfort. So I'd considered doing something like that, or having a different top box rather than the Triumph one, because it's just not a great position for the pillion. And if they have longer legs, I'd consider getting the Vario foot pegs as well. They're great. It's just a shame it didn't come in time, but yeah, they are great. Well, I say they're great. I've not used them, but I mean, my pillion would have been delighted with them.